Earth didn't vanish, it evolved beyond detection, leaving the Galactic Senate to realize too late that humanity hadn't abandoned the cosmos. It had transcended it. The vast amphitheater of the Galactic Senate chamber stretched across 3 kilometers of crystalline walls that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy occupied floating platforms arranged in concentric circles around the central forum. At the heart of it all, a massive holographic display showed the current galactic map with 47,000 inhabited systems connected by shimmering trade routes like a cosmic web of civilization. Chancellor Vorth Nax, a towering crystalline entity whose body refracted light into rainbow patterns, called the emergency session to order. Their voice resonated through quantum harmonics, translating instantly into each delegate's native language. Honored delegates of the Galactic Senate, we convene this emergency session to address the concerning absence of the Terran delegation. For the past standard year, the representative seat designated to the Sol system has remained vacant. A ripple of concern passed through the assembled delegates like a wave across an ocean of alien forms. The Altarian bird folk ruffled their iridescent feathers nervously, their musical chirping creating harmonies of whirring. The silicon-based processors from Kepler-4 to be emitted clicking sounds that echoed like chattering teeth through their crystalline, vocal chambers. Senator Crix Valen, a 6-armed crustacean-like being from the Rigel system, raised one of his primary appendages to speak. Chancellor, perhaps they've simply chosen isolation again. The humans were always peculiar in their diplomatic preferences, Crix Valen suggested, his voice carrying the skeptical tone that had characterized his species' relationship with humanity since first contact. Chancellor Vorth Nax's form dimmed slightly, a sign of serious contemplation among their kind. Negative, Senator Crix Valen. Our deep space monitoring stations detected massive energy signatures from the Sol system approximately 400 rotations ago. All subsequent communication attempts have been met with silence, not the usual human diplomatic silence, but complete electromagnetic void. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of concerned sounds, chittering, harmonic vibrations, bioluminescent flashing, and the grinding of mineral-based vocal cords. The Chancellor raised their central appendage, and the assembled delegates gradually quieted. Senator Thais Mora, a graceful, ethereal being composed of living energy that shifted between purple and gold, floated forward on her platform. What manner of energy signatures? Chancellor? Could this indicate warfare? The humans were known for their martial inclinations. Thais Mora asked, her energy form flickering with patterns that indicated deep concern among her people. The Chancellor's response sent a chill through the chamber that transcended species barriers. The readings were unlike anything in our databases. Quantum resonance patterns suggesting massive stellar engineering projects, gravitational anomalies, consistent with large-scale matter manipulation, and strangest of all chronoton emissions. The chamber fell deadly silent. Chronoton emissions meant time manipulation, technology so advanced and dangerous that the Galactic Senate had banned its research millennia ago after the temporal wars nearly destroyed 3 entire sectors. Dr. Zelix Prime, an ancient AI consciousness housed in a floating crystalline matrix that predated most current galactic civilizations, spoke with the authority of eons. Time manipulation. Impossible. Even the Forerunners never achieved stable chronoton generation. The humans were barely a class to civilization when they joined the Senate 3 centuries ago. They had nuclear fusion and basic faster-than-light travel. Nothing approaching temporal mechanics, the AI stated, its voice carrying computational certainty. Chancellor Vorth Nax's form brightened as they prepared to introduce the session's primary speaker, which brings us to today's primary agenda. Senator Cal Theron from the Proxima delegation has requested permission to present findings from their recent reconnaissance mission to the Sol system. A hush fell over the chamber as Senator Cal Theron rose from their platform. The Proximans were known throughout the galaxy as master scouts and explorers, their natural ability to navigate hyperspace unmatched by any other species. Their form shifted and flowed like liquid mercury as they prepared their presentation, a sign of deep concentration among their kind. Honored colleagues, what I am about to share will challenge everything we thought we knew about our missing human friends, Cal Theron began, their voice carrying the measured tone of a being who had witnessed something that defied explanation. The Proximant activated a massive holographic display above the chamber's center. The image showed the Sol system as recorded by long-range sensors to standard years ago. A familiar sight with a yellow star, 8 planets in stable orbits, asteroid belts, and the usual stellar debris, Earth appeared as the third planet. Its blue-green surface clearly visible, with swirling white clouds and the distinctive brown patches of continents. This is the Sol system as it existed in our records, Cal Theron explained. And this is the Sol system as it exists today. The image shifted, and gasps echoed throughout the chamber in a dozen different alien languages, where Earth once orbited. In its familiar blue glory, there was nothing but empty space. Yet the other planets remained in perfect orbital harmony, as if Earth had never existed at all. The Moon continued its dance around an invisible partner. Mars showed no signs of gravitational disruption, and the asteroid belt maintained its precise formation. Senator Thais Mora's energy form flickered rapidly with shock. By the ancient lights ... where is Terra Prime? Cal Theron's mercury-like form rippled with patterns that indicated serious revelation. That is precisely what we needed to determine. My reconnaissance team spent 3 months conducting deep scan analysis of the Sol system. What we discovered defies conventional understanding of physics, engineering, and temporal mechanics. The hologram zoomed in on Earth's former orbital position, revealing strange energy readings that pulsed in geometric patterns through what appeared to be empty void. The patterns were beautiful in their complexity, resembling mathematical fractals that seemed to fold in on themselves in impossible ways. The gravitational footprint suggests Earth still exists, Cal Theron continued. The tidal forces on Luna and Mars remain consistent with a planetary mass in this position. The orbital mechanics are perfect for a missing planet. But the planet itself has been rendered completely undetectable by conventional sensors. Dr. Zelix Prime's crystalline matrix flared with processing light, cloaking technology. Several species have achieved limited invisibility fields, but nothing on a planetary scale. The energy requirements would be astronomical. The Proximant Scout's form shifted into a configuration that indicated absolute certainty, not cloaking. Doctor, something far more sophisticated. We detected quantum signatures suggesting the planet has been phase shifted into an alternate dimensional frequency. Earth still exists in the same spatial coordinates, but it has been moved outside our standard reality matrix. The chamber erupted in confused chatter as delegates tried to process this information. Several floated closer to examine the holographic data, their various sensory organs straining to comprehend the implications. The energy readings showed patterns that seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions, creating optical illusions that hurt to observe directly. Senator Crix Valens' 6 arms gestured in agitation. Phase-shifting an entire planet, the energy requirements alone would exceed the total output of most star systems. How could a class to civilization possibly achieve such a feat? Cal Theron's response carried the weight of an uncomfortable truth. They couldn't, which suggests the humans are no longer a class to civilization. The Proximant delegate manipulated the holographic controls with fluid precision, bringing up a series of energy readings and spectral analyses that painted an impossible picture. The data showed chronotin decay patterns, dimensional resonance, frequencies, and energy signatures that belonged to civilizations thousands of years more advanced than anyone had thought possible for humanity. Our analysis of the residual chronotin emissions tells a remarkable story, Cal Theron explained. The humans didn't just phase shift their planet. They accelerated their technological development using controlled temporal manipulation. They created a localized time differential field around their entire solar system. Chancellor Vorth Nax's crystalline form dimmed to its lowest setting, indicating profound shock. You're suggesting they created a time bubble. accelerated their own timeline while remaining synchronized with Galactic Standard Time. The confirmation came with scientific precision, exactly based on the chronoton decay patterns and the dimensional resonance frequencies. We estimate that, while 3 centuries have passed for the rest of the galaxy, approximately 3,000 years have elapsed within Earth's time differential field. The humans have had 10 times longer than the rest of US to advance their civilization. A profound silence settled over the chamber as the implications sank in like stones dropped into still water. Chancellor Vorth-Nax's crystalline form dimmed further as they processed this information with the weight of galactic responsibility. The mathematics were staggering. 3,000 years of accelerated development for a species that had already shown remarkable adaptability and innovation. 3,000 subjective years of advancement, the Chancellor said slowly, if they started as a class to civilization with nuclear fusion and basic FTL capabilities. Dr. Zelix Prime's ancient consciousness ran rapid calculations, and the results illuminated their crystalline housing with alarmed light patterns. They could theoretically have achieved Class 7 or even Class 8 technological capabilities planet scale, engineering, stellar manipulation, dimensional physics, matter-energy conversion on a universal scale. They would be operating with technology that makes our most advanced species look primitive. Senator Thais Mora floated closer to the center of the chamber, her energy form shifting between worried purple and curious gold. But why? Why would they isolate themselves so completely? And why disappear from our reality altogether? What could drive an entire species to abandon the galactic community? Senator Caltherin's form rippled with what their species considered deep contemplation, mercury-like waves flowing across their surface in mathematical patterns. To answer that question, we need to examine the timing of their disappearance. Our records show the last human delegation attended the Senate exactly 387 standard rotations ago. Does anyone recall what was discussed in that final session? An elderly delegate from the vegan system slowly rose on their platform. Archivist Nettlevoss belonged to a species that served as the living memory of the Senate, their neural architecture capable of perfect recall across millennia. Their aged form moved with deliberate care as they prepared to share what might be crucial information. I remember that session clearly. The archivists began, their voice carrying the weight of centuries. The primary debate concerned the Andorian expansion protocol, specifically whether to allow the militaristic Andorian Empire to claim 3 additional star systems in the outer spiral arm for resource extraction. The ancient being's recall was perfect, each detail preserved with crystalline clarity. The human delegate, Ambassador Sarah Chen, if memory serves, argued passionately against the expansion. She presented comprehensive evidence that the Andorians intended to strip mine those systems completely, rendering them uninhabitable for millions of years. She showed projections of ecological collapse, species extinction, and long-term environmental devastation. Senator Crix-Vallen's crustacean features shifted with uncomfortable recognition. Yes, I recall now. The humans were always concerned with what they called environmental preservation and sustainable development. Most delegates found their position quaint, economically naive. The archivist's memory continued to unfold the scene from centuries past. Ambassador Chen made a final statement before the vote. She stood before this very assembly and said, and I quote, "If this Senate chooses to prioritize short-term economic gains over the long-term habitability of our galaxy, then perhaps it's time for those who think differently to find their own path forward. We cannot stand by and watch civilization destroy itself 1 star system at a time." The chamber stirred uneasily as those words, spoken centuries ago, now carried ominous weight. The human warning had been dismissed as emotional rhetoric at the time, but in hindsight, it read like a prophecy of withdrawal. Chancellor Vorth-Nax's form flickered with patterns of regret. The vote passed 847 to 23, with only the humans and their closest allies opposing. The Andorians received their expansion rights and proceeded exactly as the humans predicted. 3-star systems rendered barren within 50 standard years. Billions of indigenous life forms extinct. Entire biospheres reduced to asteroid debris. Dr. L. exprimes ancient processing cores word with contemplation. So the humans withdrew from galactic society because they disagreed with our policies. That seems extreme, even for a species known for strong emotional responses. Senator. Caltheron's form shifted into a configuration that indicated they had more disturbing revelations to share. There's more to consider. My team discovered that the humans didn't just disappear randomly. They've been systematically monitoring galactic civilization for the past 3 centuries. We found evidence of extremely advanced sensor networks throughout the galaxy, devices so sophisticated we could barely detect them even when we knew what to look for. The revelation that humanity had been secretly observing galactic civilization sent new waves of concern through the assembled delegates. Senator Caltheron manipulated their holographic display to show a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy with thousands of tiny lights scattered throughout inhabited systems. These are the sensor nodes we've managed to identify, Caltheron explained. Each one represents monitoring equipment that makes our most advanced surveillance technology look like primitive radio telescopes. They've been watching us, learning from us, and most importantly, cataloging our actions. The implications were staggering. Dr. Zell Exprime processed the data patterns with increasing alarm. The distribution is comprehensive. They have eyes and ears in every major star system, every trade route, every political center. They know everything we've done since they withdrew. Senator Thijs Mora's energy form flickered with uncomfortable realization. They've been judging us. For 3 centuries, they've been watching how we handle galactic governance, environmental policy, species relations, territorial disputes. And apparently, we've been found wanting. Chancellor Vorthnax called for order as worried chatter erupted throughout the chamber. What evidence do we have of their current capabilities? If they've achieved Class 7 or Class 8 technology levels, what does that mean for galactic security? Caltheron's response was sobering. Based on the sensor technology alone, they possess capabilities that exceed our understanding. Quantum entanglement communication across galactic distances, matter phase manipulation, probable consciousness transfer technology, and what appears to be limited precognitive modeling. They can predict probable outcomes of our decisions before we make them. The Proximan Scout activated another display showing energy signatures from various galactic incidents over the past 3 centuries. Moreover, we found traces of human intervention in several major galactic crises. The vegan solar storm of 2847 that should have destroyed their entire system. Artificially redirected, the Rigel plague that threatened to wipe out 6 species, mysteriously contained by unknown medical technology. The collapse of the Kepler trade network that would have caused economic chaos, stabilized by phantom financial interventions that our economists still can't explain. Senator Crix Valens. 6 arms gestured in agitation and dawning understanding. They've been protecting us. Even after withdrawing from our society, they've been secretly intervening to prevent the worst consequences of our decisions. Archivist Netelvoss spoke with the weight of accumulated wisdom. It appears the humans took what they called the long view. Rather than engaging in futile political battles within our system, they removed themselves to a position where they could observe, learn, and intervene only when absolutely necessary to prevent galactic catastrophe. The chamber fell into contemplative silence. Delegates processed this information. The humans hadn't abandoned galactic civilization out of spite or isolation. They had evolved beyond the need for traditional diplomatic engagement while maintaining a protective watch over their former colleagues. Dr. L. Exprime's ancient consciousness had been running calculations throughout the discussion, and now the AIS crystalline housing blazed with the light of crucial realization. Colleagues, I believe we're missing the most important implication of this discovery. If the humans have achieved Class 7 or Class 8 capabilities and have been monitoring us for 3 centuries, the question isn't where they went or why they left. The AI paused dramatically, something it had learned from millennia of interaction with organic species. The question is, what have they been preparing for? Chancellor Vorthnax's form brightened with urgent attention. Elaborate, Dr. Zelix Prime, the ancient consciousness access deep, historical databases, comparing patterns across galactic history. Every advanced civilization that has achieved Class 7 capabilities has faced the same ultimate challenge, the transition from galactic to intergalactic civilization. The technology to phase shift an entire planet, manipulate time differentials, and monitor galactic-scale activities is developed for isolationist purposes. Its preparation technology. Senator Thais Mora floated closer, her energy form pulsing. With curiosity and concern. Preparation for what? The AIS response sent chills through every delegate present. For leaving the galaxy entirely. The humans haven't just withdrawn from galactic politics, they've been preparing to transcend galactic civilization altogether. The phase shifting, the time acceleration, the monitoring networks, it's all part of a species-wide preparation for an evolutionary leap that would take them beyond anything we can imagine. Senator Caltheron's mercury form rippled with sudden understanding. The energy signatures we detected, they weren't just from planetary phase shifting. We recorded interdimensional gateway formations, space-time manipulation on a stellar scale, and what our quantum physicists could only describe as reality engineering. They're not just hiding from us, they're building something. The Proxima Scout activated a final holographic display that showed the Sol system with overlaid energy readings spanning the past year. The patterns were breathtaking in their complexity, geometric forms that seemed to extend into dimensions beyond normal perception, energy flows that created mathematical beauty on an incomprehensible scale. This is what Earth's local space looks like to our most advanced sensors, Caltheron explained. They've constructed what can only be described as a dimensional nexus point, a gateway complex that makes our fastest hyperspace routes look like walking paths. Based on these readings, they're preparing to leave not just our reality, but our entire universal framework. The weight of revelation settled over the Galactic Senate chamber like a heavy atmosphere. Thousands of delegates from across the galaxy sat in stunned contemplation as they processed what they had learned about their former human colleagues. Chancellor Vorthnax's crystalline form cycled through various light patterns as they struggled with the implications for galactic civilization. So the humans, our former partners in galactic governance, have spent 3 centuries evolving beyond our comprehension, the Chancellor summarized. They've been watching us, protecting us from our worst mistakes, and preparing for a transition that would take them beyond anything we can understand. The question now becomes, what does this mean for the rest of us? Archivist Nettle Voss rose slowly, their ancient form moving with the deliberate care of a being who had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations across millennia. Perhaps the more important question is, what message were they trying to send? U.S. The humans were never subtle in their communications. Even their withdrawal was a form of diplomacy. Dr. Zelix Prime's processing cores blazed with analytical activity. Consider their actions from a strategic perspective. They achieved technology that could have made them the dominant force in galactic civilization. They could have conquered, controlled, or reshaped galactic society according to their environmental and ethical preferences. Instead, they chose withdrawal, observation, and subtle protection. Senator Thais Mora's energy form shifted to contemplative blue-green patterns. They were teaching us through example, showing us that there are alternatives to the resource extraction, expansion-focused model that has dominated galactic civilization for millennia. Senator Crix Vallen's multiple arms gestured in a pattern his species used to indicate profound realization, and we failed the lesson. 3 centuries of continued environmental destruction, territorial expansion, and short-term thinking. While they evolved beyond our understanding, we remain locked in the same patterns that drove them away. The chamber stirred as delegates began to grasp the full implications of their discovery. The humans hadn't just left, they had provided a mirror that reflected galactic civilization's failures and limitations. Senator Caltheron's form shifted into patterns of urgent communication. My reconnaissance team discovered one final piece of evidence. Hidden within the dimensional energy signatures around Earth, we found what appears to be a message. A communication designed to be discovered only by a civilization advanced enough to detect their phase-shifting technology. The holographic display activated one final time, showing complex energy patterns that gradually resolved into mathematical formulations, and then into translated text that appeared simultaneously in every delegate's native language. To our former colleagues in the Galactic Senate, the message read, "We have not abandoned you, but we can no longer participate in a system that prioritizes immediate gain over long-term survival. We have found a path beyond the limitations of resource scarcity and territorial expansion. When your civilizations are ready to evolve beyond the cycle of consumption and conflict, you will find us waiting in the spaces between dimensions. Until then, we will continue to watch, protect where necessary, and hope that wisdom will eventually guide galactic civilization towards sustainability. The door to transcendence remains open, but it can only be walked through by species that have learned to think in terms of deep time and universal consequence. We hope to see you on the other side of evolution." The human collective, the silence that followed the message was profound and transformative. Across the vast chamber, delegates from thousands of worlds contemplated a future they had never imagined, one where technological advancement wasn't measured in conquest and extraction, but in wisdom and transcendence. Chancellor Vorthnax's crystalline form gradually brightened as they processed the implications. "The humans haven't just left us behind," they said slowly. "They've left us a roadmap, a demonstration that there are alternatives to the path we've been following." Dr. Zelix Prime's ancient consciousness accessed historical databases spanning millions of years. "In all my millennia of existence, I have observed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Most fall to resource depletion, territorial wars, or environmental collapse. A few transcend these limitations and evolve beyond physical existence. The humans appear to have achieved something unprecedented, a species-wide evolutionary leap, while maintaining their essential nature and their protective instincts toward other civilizations." Senator Thais Mora floated to the center of the chamber, her energy form cycling through patterns that indicated profound decision-making. "Then we have a choice to make. We can continue on our current path, accepting that we will eventually face the same environmental and resource crises that have destroyed previous galactic civilizations. Or we can learn from the human example and begin the difficult work of evolving beyond our current limitations." The debate that followed would reshape galactic civilization. For the first time in millennia, the Galactic Senate began to seriously consider long-term thinking, environmental sustainability, and the possibility that technological advancement could serve purposes beyond conquest and expansion. Some species, like the Andorians, initially resisted the implications of the human example. Others, like the contemplative energy beings of the Thais system, immediately began implementing radical changes to their civilizations. The Proximans established new exploration protocols focused on understanding rather than exploitation. The Ancient AIs began sharing knowledge previously restricted to maintain balance between organic and artificial intelligences. Over the following decades, the changes rippled through galactic civilization. Trade networks evolved to prioritize sustainability over profit. Territorial expansion slowed as species focused on optimizing their existing systems. Scientific research shifted toward understanding consciousness, dimensional physics, and the possibility of transcending physical limitations. The humans had achieved something remarkable. They had forced an entire galactic civilization to confront its own assumptions and limitations without firing a single shot or issuing a single ultimatum. They had become the watchers, the teachers, and the guardians of galactic evolution, and somewhere in the spaces between dimensions, in a phase-shifted Earth that existed simultaneously everywhere and nowhere, humanity continued its own evolution, while maintaining patient vigil over their former colleagues. They had learned that true advancement wasn't about leaving others behind, it was about creating the conditions for everyone to evolve together. The empty chair in the Galactic Senate remained vacant, but it no longer represented absence. It had become a symbol of possibility, a reminder that civilization could choose transcendence over dominance, wisdom over power, and evolution over stagnation. The day the Galactic Senate realized why Earth was gone became the day the galaxy began to grow up.